for Monday, November 6th, 2023 to order. First order of business is Pledge of Allegiance. Charles, would you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the
the
flag
flag
of the United
of the
States
United States of America,
and to the republic
which stands
one
one
nation
nation
under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty and
liberty,
justice for all.
for all.
Charles, public forum. Anyone wishing to address the board in public forum? I think we have all staff members or elected officials on this one, so no public forum today. Item 3, and that's approval of minutes, the October 16th, 2023 regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Any comments, questions, suggested changes?
I'll second that, by the way, so.
Second, thank you.
Good to go.
Any questions or changes? Hearing none, I'll try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye.
Those in the room.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Item 4, Board of Ed Director Cliff Gurnham. We've gotten word this morning that Cliff is not prepared to move on this, so is there a motion to table this until our next meeting or whenever they're ready?
So move.
Second?
I'll
Second.
second. Sandy's got it.
Sandy's got it, good. Let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye.
Those in the room?
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Item 5, Fire Department, Mike Shove. Assistant Chief, Deputy Chief, whatever we. Chief is good.
Atkinson's assistant.
5.1 is discuss and take possible action on the fuel systems upgrade at the fire department, which includes contracting with Blue One Energy Equipment off the Sourcewell contract and Veterans Petroleum Services, a sole source vendor. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. Just looking for approval for two things. The Veterans Petroleum just completed the project at Public Works Department, installing a fob system.
Yep.
And both the fire department and police department systems are, I'll say, end of service life. So I spoke to Dave, and I know they had a little bit extra money in the remaining capital. So I looked to coordinate with them to possibly upgrade the PD and the FD systems, so it's all standardized and interoperable between all fueling stations. So that's the first one that we're looking to Veterans Petroleum for the $31,482.97.
Okay.
The second one was the sole source vendor Sourcewell contract for the DEF tanks.
Yep.
So currently we use 55-gallon drums, I believe both at the Public Works Department and the Fire Department. So the DEF fluid is the diesel exhaust fluid that's required for diesel vehicles with the newer emission systems. And this pumping station system, we're looking at one for Public Works and one for the Fire Department that are at both sites where there's diesel trucks. For fueling, it makes it more efficient. Essentially, it's a 200-gallon tank instead of 4 55-gallon drums that are hand filled. So the total project for the fuel systems, I forget what the total price was, but the one for the 31,482 and the Blue Scope for the systems for the DEF tanks was
23 and change.
yeah, it's around 22,349.24.
Got it. Comments or questions?
Yeah, what's the life cycle of this DEF system?
So the DEF system, DEF is how recent? Probably within the last 7 to 10 years. The
Right.
diesel exhaust fluid requirement
Oh, so that's really
for
new.
emissions. So the way we've been doing it, both fire department and Public Works, is 55-gallon drums and then hand pumping those to fill the DEF tanks. So when you think about how often you fill the diesel in the truck versus how often you fill the DEF tank, we're using about 200 gallons a year for the fire department fleet. So instead of doing the 55-gallon drums, having a single tank fill and having that one fill and the operation filling out at one specific point eliminates a bunch of failures moving 55-gallon drums around. So we use about 200 gallons per year. So that the life cycle of the actual pump and equipment, I would say probably 15 to 20 years on these tanks.
Yeah. And there must be some cost offset from the existing system that we're using now, having somebody deliver these tanks, the drums and disposal of the drums and clean up if things go wrong, right? I mean, what are the What are the
Yeah.
offsetting savings?
Well, offsetting
Dollar-wise,
savings
to the
is
extent that you can.
minimum just the transfer between 50, having 4 55-gallon drums and transferring liquid and fluid and the safety aspect of
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
You're filling one tank in one point, and that 200 gallons is essentially lasting a longer duration. It's a single fill point in terms of safety. And dollars and cents, I think it'll be about the same in terms of the cost of diesel exhaust fluid. It's still gonna cost us the same amount to have it filled. But it's a bulk fill instead of multiple containers or cans, in the safety world.
Sounds good.
Any other questions or comments?
Pretty straightforward.
And this is on unexpired or unused bond funding on capital.
Correct,
capital
yeah.
projects.
And I checked with Mary
Mary
Jane,
Jane was here.
before we went forward.
All right, anything further? Questions? No? Is there a motion to approve the award of these two contracts in the total of $53,832.21?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second.
Anything further? Hearing none, let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye.
Those in the room?
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
How soon before delivery on this stuff?
We're gonna set this as do that.
Any supply chain issue?
Hopefully not.
All right. Item 6, Library Director Rob McCool. Good morning, Rob.
Morning.
And 6.1 is to consider and take possible action to contract with Silktown Roofing for a cupola restoration at the Guilford Free Library. Rob.
So I just would apologize. I think last time I was here, I said, oh, that's the last I'll ever be asking about this roof for a while. Basically, and this is where my fiscally conservative instincts kind of got the better of me. When I saw the quotes from the architects, Silver Petrocelli and Associates for the roof itself, it came in at $370,000, and my jaw dropped. We only had 100 in the line at that point. So we came for approval to make up the difference, which did happen. I believe 240 with the library board, the Guilford Library Association making up $30,000. Then the quote from Silktown came in at 197. So we actually were kind of breathing a sigh of relief. We're well within the limits. But as they suggested 3 different change orders, and I'm only proposing one, and that's for the cupola. It was in a little bit worse shape than I thought, and then also, as Steve keeps pointing out, once the roof is laid, to go back and have to walk on this brand new slate roof to correct the cupola down the road is just gonna lead to possible damage. So I think now that the scaffolding's up, there's an opportunity here to get this done within the existing appropriated money. We were able to get an emergency session of the Standing Building Committee last Wednesday, where Steve, myself, and Ken Lindsley of the architectural firm made our case, and they approved the project. So I'm asking that we approve this one change order, and then I promise I'm done talking about the roof for the next 90 years. I mean, the flat roof is still under warranty. It'll have to be done with at some point, but that's considerably down the road. But in this case, I just think it's an opportunity on this, sort of architecturally significant landmark on the green to do it right all at once, and be done with it.
What were the 2 other changes?
One is the glass partition between the old part of the building and the new part. It's never perfect, and it's very cloudy, and there is a leak. The leak has not gotten worse over the last 10 years, so I feel like that can wait a little while. That's more aesthetic in nature. I mean, there is a little damage. And then the painting, as I looked at the trim, the painting was not as bad as I thought, so I think that can also be put off and won't require the
So
same.
neither of them are roof issues.
Neither of those are quite as time sensitive. This one, if we don't move on it now, we'd have to.
Yeah, going back over a slate roof, it sounds problematic. And they've inspected it, and they're pretty confident in what they're recommending, and their pricing is.
Yes, both the architects and the standing building committee agree. This is it.
Because the other project, the roof itself is underway, are they gonna be able to get this done?
Yeah, that was my main concern, and I really said, look, you have to promise me this can happen in this time frame, knowing that this was not a foregone conclusion, and it's approved, and they said, yes, they can make that happen. They couldn't put it off any further, so there's no need for further discussion, but if we can give them the message today, then we're good.
Is the whole cupola going to be reconditioned or just the repairs?
The whole, like the replacing the copper, it's all the original 90-year-old structure.
You know
Rob,
that
why
it's
don't
coming back with the weather vane issue. You know that, the minute you put it in your letter, you know
I
it.
think Sandy's right.
You-
I'm sorry?
Sandy,
I just have one comment. If you have any reason to doubt Rob's report, which I don't believe, Rob, why don't you tell them how you know the condition of the cupola?
Well, it's hard, from the inside, it's hard to get to. I think I do just enough yoga that I can get up there. So when there's, I've never been able to prove the leak was coming from there, but I never caught it in time. It's really dark and cobwebs. But when the last really huge downpour was coming at the beginning of last week, I did crawl up there. I finally found the leak once and for all. It's going into the historical room, and it's right beneath the northeast corner of the cupola. So I don't know enough to prove that, but that's the spot. So I'd hate to go through this $200,000 repair and then still have a leak in the historical room.
I think it makes sense. All right, is there a motion to approve the change order as discussed as delineated in the bid proposal?
I'd like to make that motion, please.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further comments or questions? Let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye.
Those in the room?
Aye,
Aye. That motion carries unanimously. Rob, thank you.
well done,
Do I,
Rob.
do I suspect we'll see those other two things in your capital plan?
That's down the road a little bit.
Okay.
3 or 4 years.
Oh, okay.
That's recorded now.
Yeah,
I
know. All right, item 7, Parks and Rec Director Rick Beamer. Come on down, Rick.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing today?
We're good. We're good, Rick. How about you?
Okay. So at the police department, the light system that we have there, I was just thinking back, I think it's the late 90s or early 2000s, we put that in, maybe 2003 or something like that. I don't remember the exact date, but the problem is now, and I think Chief Massey's on here, he and I spoke about this, is that the way the light's going off, an officer has to go out there and open up a cabinet, turn a key and switch to turn them on, turn them off. So if it's raining out, there's no copper on, the lights are on.
Right.
So what we want to do is convert it to like what we recently did at Adams School, those basketball courts, where it's on a timer, which these are on a timer too. So whatever timers, they're not going on after that, but they come on and they stay on unless somebody turns them off. But at Adams, it's a push button. Same thing at the high school tennis courts. So they only go on if somebody's playing. There's a timer though that controls it. If we don't want them on after 10 o'clock, you push the button all you want at 10:15, they're not going to come on. So it's going long term, it'll save us electricity because the lights aren't on if it's raining out. They're only going to go on if somebody's playing or if there's nobody there and they're not coming on. And it's certainly inconvenient for the police department to have to get somebody to go out, turn them on and off all the time, as often as they do. It's a Musco lighting system, so it's proprietary. We really have to go in Musco. But the other option with that, included in that, is that there's a remote control where an app on a phone, like we have at Adams, same thing, where we can turn it off on from anywhere, any place. You know, we can turn
Who's
lights
we,
on
the
and off.
police, you?
Well, it's Tony's the one who's doing it now for Adams. So the other thing the chief asked is if we would, and you'll see when we do our budget presentation, if we would take over the cost of the lighting. They've been paying out of their budget forever. And I guess it makes sense. I mean, we pay for the lights at the high school tennis courts at Adams. Kind of makes sense. It's a recreational amenity to put in our budget. And we would control when they go, you know, what the timer would be, you know, sort of for that. But so the cost is $14,500. And includes installation, includes the app, the remote control app, and the whole link to change it over.
Is there a license for that app? Do we have to pay anything going forward?
You know, good question. I don't think so. I think the one at Adams, I believe it's just included. I'd have to look into that. Well, here it says licenses and permits. You see. I got I don't know if you got a copy of the quote. Oh, that's just permits to install it.
Okay.
That's all. Yeah, there's anything about licenses.
And so what's the universe of places that would have this, once you finish, assuming this goes through, what's the universe of places that has the customer control?
Adams and the Adams basketball court and the high school tennis courts.
Okay.
And I know
now
Jake,
these-
Jake has a similar thing at the high school for the lights there. And again, in our budget presentation, you see, we're gonna be asking for something similar at Bittner. for the light system there, so that we don't have to give a key to somebody going in and out and turning the lights on, we'll be able to control it remotely. But that'll be in the budget price. That was a little bit more. This one, we thought we'd like to get it going as soon as possible so we can start saving the electrical costs.
Question about how it actually operates. If someone comes and presses the button at say, well, today dark by 6 o'clock, right? If they put it on at 6 o'clock, does it stay on continuously till what we have as defined as the shut off point?
Good question. Stays up for an hour, basically.
Okay.
So, and same thing with the Adams courts. At 50 minutes, a little yellow light flashes
Okay,
to let you know in 10 minutes it's going off. So if you're in the middle of a shot, you know, it won't go off. You press the button again to set it for another hour, but it
Yeah.
won't go past whatever time the master clock is on it.
thank you. Any other questions or comments? Well, one comment. It's not all that infrequent that we don't get a complaint in the office. Why are the lights on when nobody is playing?
Yeah.
I was gonna go there too.
You had the floor.
So I used to have this observation about the tennis courts at Lakes all the time. And $14,000 is a considerable amount, and I gather that's the price for this fairly complicated system.
Yeah.
It's not just somebody putting a wall plate in with a switch. There's timers and controls and remote control. It's a great idea, I think. It's people in the area, satisfies them, satisfies the people who need to use it,
Right.
saves time. I just think it's a useful thing over time to continue to think about
Yeah.
installing in the various places, recognizing it's a fair amount of money.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great idea there.
And this is consistent with something that we'll be hearing about shortly, which are these are the dark skies, you know, the effort to diminish lighting at nighttime because of significant challenges for migratory birds and so forth. So you'll be hearing more about that
Yeah,
initiative.
do these lights have the sort of the downcasting?
They're, Musco's they're like a pioneer in the industry. They have I guess called shields, so there's less spray off the court.
Right.
It's kind of directed. I mean, does it light up? Yeah, I mean, if you're driving somewhere, you're gonna see some lights, but it does direct it down. There's not a lot of spill outside.
Right.
Good.
Great.
All right, is there a motion to approve the purchase and installation of this system for $15,500?
I'll make that motion. Thanks, Rick.
Second,
I'll second.
any further comments or questions? One comment, Rick noted that using the program account to fund this.
Yes, and I've already talked to Laura, our commission chair, what we're gonna be addressing tonight in the commission meeting.
Great. Well,
Thanks.
thank you. Let me try your minds. Selectman Ruoff. Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye.
And those in the room?
All right.
Aye, that motion carries unanimously. Thanks,
All right.
Rick.
Thank you. There's no one here to listen to you.
I know.
They are.
All right, town engineer. Good morning, Janice.
Good morning.
So 8.1 is consider and take possible action on a request to reduce the road bond for Benton's Knoll.
Yeah, this one's been around for a while. They have now completed the road work and paving, so the final course of pavement was put on a few weeks ago. Everything looks good in terms of all the touch-ups they had to do to the drainage and everything, so I would have come back for a full release, but in the meantime, we had a couple of years ago, an agreement with them to utilize some of this road bond monies towards some outstanding landscaping that they're required to do for planning and zoning. So I did check in with the town planner, and she had suggested to put aside $50,000 remaining for the landscaping work that still is to remain on the site. So in this case, we're just gonna ask for a reduction on the road bond from 125,000, which we hold now, down to 50,000, so a release of $75,000 for the time being.
Great. Thank you for the consideration on the landscaping. That's been a challenge with a couple of the residents adjacent to the budding property.
Yeah, it
owners,
seems
so.
to be a moving target. So.
And this is an expense that the developer is incurring. They have to pay for the bond, so since they're moving forward and they've done what they're supposed to do to this point, recognizing there's some work, we're just giving them the relief of reducing
Yeah,
the
it's-
expense.
Yeah, it's a CD that's being held for the town at Dime Bank, so it's yes, the developer, it's the developer's money being hold for our purposes to be sure that the project is completed as approved.
That's interesting. So they're not
Yes.
actually buying a bond, they're just
No,
escrowing funds.
we typically, as you
Lot cheaper.
recall, we typically require either a letter of credit or an actual cash bond in town. Surety bonds are allowed, but they're hard to keep track of, and a lot of times they just disappear. So my recommendation is we always do a letter of credit or a cash bond.
So you're essentially releasing $75,000
Yes.
back to the
Yes.
developer.
Yes, and he's agreeable to the amounts. We discussed it in terms of what was outstanding. for
Awesome.
landscaping.
Thank you.
All right, is there a motion? Proceed.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye.
Those in the room?
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. 8.2, discuss and take possible action to contract with Stan Tech for engineering services for a complete streets project for Long Hill Road.
Yeah, so back in June, I had come to you with a proposal to utilize the SCROG on-call engineering services as a limited source of proposals and qualification submission for two projects that the Safe Streets Task Force wanted to try and move forward with some more advanced preliminary design as well as grant applications for lots of funding possibilities. And so the two items before you, one is for Long Hill Road, which is the section from Hubbard Road up to New England Road. And this one, we had received, I think in my letter, I said we had received three proposals. One proposal was late and both their proposals were the highest we received, so we sort of didn't even consider them. So the other two that we received on time, one was from SLR and one was from Stantec. They both submitted proposals for both Long Hill Road and North Madison Road. In reviewing their proposals, we felt there was some good proposal ideas in the Stantec one to further explore a little more public outreach and to really kind of narrow down what we want to see on Long Hill Road for pedestrian and bike improvements, intersection improvements at New England Road. Looking at their proposal, although they were a little higher than SLR for Long Hill Road, we felt that they really nailed it with their, scope of work that they were proposing. And so both myself and the Safe Streets Task Force felt that they would be the best firm for that project at a total of $57,295.
Where, I know probably have to wait for the proposal for what they, well, generally, where might the crosswalk be? Just be it down by Hubbard or up by New England or somewhere in between?
It's gonna depend. It's gonna depend on which side of the road or what we even install for amenities is gonna be. So that's all gonna be explored.
Probably before the park makes the most sense, because then they'll be able to walk up from the park.
Yeah, it depends on which side it starts on and ends on. It may have to cross. There's a few challenges with on the east side of the road. There's a lot of grading challenges. We do fortunately have a 60-foot right of way for Long Hill Road. So even though the roadway on either side of it looks a little challenging, we have room to change things to accommodate what we're looking for. There's also the potential of using part of the roadway itself that's currently paved just for vehicles, to take some of that back as we did on Route 77 to help with the space needs for the pedestrians and bicyclists. So that's where it's a more challenging area to look at, and it did have some public vetting through the Safe Streets plan, complete streets plan that the Safe Streets Task Force had done a couple years back, but we felt given, its impact to that whole corridor, we would want to do a little more outreach to really develop what we want to see there.
I don't know if anybody had the opportunity to take a look at the demonstration project that they did up there, which was a narrowing of that, the spillway, that entranceway from New England out onto Long Hill, which effectively we had created 2 lanes sometimes.
Yeah, it's a very wide radius, and people tend to just fly through the intersection as opposed to stopping and turning. And so it was a more narrowed down intersection to control traffic, slow things down, and kind of give a little order to it. So that was one of the, that would be part of the project as well, to end the project there. The hope is to eventually go further north on Long Hill Road, at least to connect to the, the middle school, if not further. Currently, we have sidewalks going in as part of the subdivision just north of the middle school, which is, exciting too. So starting to see some improvements for pedestrian access through some of these main corridors and connections that we've identified years ago in the transportation plan and since with the complete streets plan.
And we have
I have a
Go ahead, Sam.
question.
Go ahead.
Janice, the 60 feet that you said, does that mean 30 on each side? Or however we want to do it?
Well, we have a defined right of way, and most roads are typically 50-foot right of ways, but our collector roads, we tend to have a 60-foot right of way. It may not be entirely centered. The road may not be entirely centered in that right of way, so I can't say for sure it's 30 feet from the
Okay.
center line on either side. That would be further understood with survey work. This proposal here is preliminary, so there's no
Right.
survey involved, but that would be the next step if we were to actually proceed to construction on the project.
Thank you.
The other comment I had was that it's also designed to impact the northbound traffic on Long Hill going on to New England Road, because they tend to cut that corner as well. So I think it's a great safety improvement for that intersection. All right, is there a motion to approve the award to Stantec in the amount of $57,295?
Yeah, I'll make the motion, but I have another
Second.
question.
Second. Question.
So this is design, this is engineering and design, right? So people in the area and anywhere in town will still have an opportunity to be heard on these issues. And this is the beginning of the process, not
Absolutely.
like it's over.
No, this is very preliminary. We hope to have, we will have public outreach as part of even the preliminary design. And then if we were to go to construction, we would have public outreach as well as required.
I have a question. The funding for this study, is that coming out of the Safe Streets allotment of funds that they have to use, or is it coming from someplace else?
Yes, the funding is from the Safe Streets.
Okay.
coffers.
Any other questions? No, then let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye.
Those in the room?
Aye.
That motion carries. All right, next up, consider take possible action to contract with SLR for engineering services for a complete streets project on North Madison Road. Similar.
Yeah, similar. We had done,
Different.
we identified North Madison Road as needing some improvements, and since the plan was completed, the Safe Streets Task Force folks actually did a little more legwork on their own, reaching out to
So to speak.
some communities in the neighborhood, like the Valley Shores, as well as they reached out, I think, to the golf course commission, and not sure if they reached out to the school itself, or certainly the staff at some of the staff at the school, police department, trying to identify what they wanted to see there for improvements, including sidewalks. They're looking for a 3-way stop at Malpas and North Madison Road, which we didn't proceed to any approvals because it needs further study because of some sightline concerns and stopping distance concerns there. And so we really need some traffic data to really make that an evaluation of that intersection for improvements. And there's, concern about which side of the road with the sidewalks end up on. There's some challenges on both, and connecting to what's already existing over at Guilford Lakes. So since there was already a lot of outreach done, and even though the Safe Streets Task Force really was enamored with Stantec's proposal and how much they were doing, it was still a lot of money, and we were able to, I pointed out to them, SLR can handle this project very easily. They're a great firm too for this type of stuff, and we could save $18,000 if we went with them on this project, since a lot of, legwork with public outreach had already been done. Not to say there won't be any public outreach, it's just not as, there's not as many questions as to what we're gonna try and do here. So we feel like we could narrow it down and save some money with going with the SLR proposal. So that's why we chose SLR on this particular project.
Is there a motion to approve the award to SLR for the North Madison Roads Safe Streets work in the amount of $26,450?
I'll move it.
A second?
Second,
There we go. Thank you, Sandy. Any further comments or questions?
No, you know, it's interesting. It's an area with a school, a golf course, a lot of public amenities. There's the store up the road. There's a lot going on there
Yeah.
that requires some pedestrian safety, and thank you for keeping us moving.
Anything else? If not, let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff.
aye.
Those in the room?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Thank you, Jane.
Great, thank you.
Item 9, discuss and designate a Board of Selectmen member soon to be formed study committee on firefighters' post-employment medical benefits. I think we talked about this at the last meeting. We could pull the old one. Sue missed the meeting and she winds up in the slot. Does anyone have a burning desire to participate in this?
My only question is, this is simply a committee. It seems to me that this has got to be part of negotiated settlement.
No, this is exploratory work that would inform official contract reopening or negotiations.
Contract reopening.
Very possibly, but when is their contract end? We got another year on theirs?
Yeah, 2025.
Right, so in order to affect this, we would actually have to reopen the contract. Which is why we're not officially doing that now. What we're doing is a study committee to determine costs, impacts, and possible options related to post-employment benefits.
So the existing OPEB that we have
Right.
and that we've begun funding is for all other bargaining units other than police and fire? Is that,
No, there are some individual contracts that have OPEB benefits. Fire department, we put something in last year, the VIBA, or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
And then the police department does have the full healthcare benefits upon retirement.
and that's part of we're already funding?
We're already funding that through the OPEB benefits, the OPEB trust. That's right.
But the fire department contract wasn't included in that?
No.
Okay.
But we did in the last contracts that was called a VIBA, voluntary employment benefits situation where we are funding monies into as a pay-as-you-go kind of thing. It's not OPEB. We're not funding it after they retire, so it becomes post-employment. It's actually during employment, we're funding the OPEB, the VIBA, the VIBA at this point for all firefighters, putting money in, they're putting money in, we're putting money in. And then there's a provision in the contract that there's a portion of their sick time that exceeds the 140 days, it's the maximum. And that goes into that as well, for those that have reached that level. It's a complicated formula, but it's one that we worked out with them that started towards putting money towards an account in their name that they can use for medical benefits upon retirement. That's been approached about doing something beyond that. I think that's where we're at right now, discussing.
I was
potential
part
beyond
of
that.
those negotiations.
Yes, you were.
I am-
Their
hello?
recommendation.
Help.
Go ahead. Sandy, let Charles just.
Sorry, yes, go right ahead.
Well, VIBA was their recommendation.
It was their request. The town initially, I don't think we're speaking out of turn here. The town initially dismissed it as something we didn't want to do. Looked more into it. They pressed the issue. We looked more into it about the cost impact. And it was felt that as part of an overall package with the firefighters, that was a cost that could be absorbed with the overall package.
I don't know if I would jump to the town dismissed it as much as the town negotiators at that point in time were concerned about taking on another level of benefit management, call it that.
Okay, fair enough.
And they
funding.
came back with this plan where they would manage it. We would write a check a year, and they would manage it. Now, what exactly are we proposing to go forward with changing? I mean,
We're not proposing anything at this moment. I believe Matt has been approached that there's desire to look at a healthcare benefit that mirrors the police, which never has. And that's where we're gonna look. I guess that's what the
Yeah.
question is.
Sandy, before I comment, you had a question?
Oh, I may be getting ahead here, but I'm willing to be the selectman designee unless I would defer to any other member of the board who you and Mitch might feel would be smarter than me.
Well.
More
that doesn't
equipped.
leave-
Because
That might be-
Wow. You don't mean
Well,
Jonathan, do you?
I don't know, is that gaslighting?
I have a little more time now, because some of my other activities have diminished, but, so I'm just throwing my name out there, but I will not be hurt if someone else is selected, that's all.
Okay.
I move.
I moved.
I feel like I'm smart enough to defer to Sandy on that
Yeah,
one.
that's right.
Charles, you wanted more of this.
So the point I want to make is I've been approached by both the fire department management as well as the unit. I've had meetings with them over the last month or so. Both looking for us to do something along these lines. And it is largely a recruitment and retention issue. The city of New Haven just changed their policies. Now they're going to be starting to take lateral transfers into their fire department. And they have OPEB benefits that mirror what the police departments in their communities have. The interesting aspect of this is these benefits were never contemplated when we first established the full-time paid fire department. And I dare say that that was probably strategic in that, we were bringing on, an expense to the community that has since grown to be the single largest line item in our budget, save for debt retirement or debt payments, but and it will continue to be the largest line item. So now this clearly is can be cast in a couple different ways. People talk about it in terms of equity. These people put their lives on the line just like the police do. Why aren't they entitled to that benefit? One of the things that we have looked to do over time is to do something with that other post-employment benefit package that the police have, to modify or potentially negotiate, some solutions to that going forward. So I think the commitment that I've made to both management and the union is that we'll put a group together. There'll be a representative from the fire commission, be a representative from the management, either the chief or deputy chief. And bet my bottom dollar that's deputy chief. Yeah, a representative from this board, and then a representative from the board of finance, with Mary Jane and Mitch also serving as staff to that committee. So Sandy, I think you've just earned it, but
Well, if you want to think about it,
In charging this committee would be, I mean, it seems like this committee, frankly, is doing union negotiations.
I don't think so. We're gonna look at this. This is designed to understand what other departments are doing. Are we looking at a like for like with the police department's plan, or are there other plans out there that we could investigate
Well,
and
I
possibly?
know, but we looked at, because during the last negotiation, they continually brought up other departments and they wanting parity, let's say. Okay, and that was an argument that they had, quite consistent, whatever. But part of that discussion was, well, okay, parity is one thing, but that doesn't mean if taxpayers automatically give, it might mean that we negotiate the other side and bring it to something that works in between. And that's my I don't have a problem. I think Sandy would be good at it because of her town employment experience and union experience and everything. But I just want the charge of this commission to be looking at the entire picture, both from the taxpayer's perspective and the employee's perspective, because, you know, there's no question that they have, their job is special as far as risk and that type of thing, but it is part, you know, a decision that they made for employment too. So that's.
No, I fully understand. That is part of the process here, is identify any costs related with anything to do, and those costs borne by the taxpayers.
I think it's good in the long run to get some parity or program going forward so that, you know, this is not the first time this discussion has come up. So let's, you know, develop a policy going forward, and this is what it's going to be. There's two sides to the policy making.
My thought is, this is the perfect example of a program and a concept that requires consistent funding over time, needless to say, not to get ahead of ourselves, not that somebody 30 years from now is gonna look back at this meeting and say that, but you know what I mean? It's a wonderful thing, and if it helps recruitment and retention, that's important. Consistently though, it's gonna be a lot of small funding moments is a hell of a lot easier than one giant mess 20 years from now. Somebody looks back and say, well, we didn't figure out how much to pump into this thing.
Yeah, well, like Matt started to say, the OPEB account that we started a couple of years ago now, gonna have to be reset.
Exactly.
And the other thing that occurs to me is this is critical to maintain this as a benefit available to people that are eligible post-retirement, but not something that, you know, I would never want to see it solely slide in that people could take it out and take it with them. This is a town's money. It would be there, you know, in the future. Otherwise, just those shark bites really affect these accounts.
Yeah, and as far as throwing up other towns and communities, I mean, you know, I'll listen to the discussion, but it doesn't carry too much weight because, you know, a lot of those things are politically driven at any given point in time, so.
Well, just as an anecdotally, down in Branford reinstituted defined benefit plans to their police department and fire department, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of years ago. And then I think West Haven did.
No, police department did. West Haven, I don't know about fire department, no, police they did, and West Haven is, on their police, the council voted unanimously to approve going back to the defined benefit plan, yet the MARB, Municipal Accounting Review Board, has so far not accepted that, because of the extreme cost. But, you know, we'll see what happens with that. That's
Well, that's what I was wondering. I mean, those kinds of arguments are point in times, political point in time, so.
Yep.
They are.
Lou, if I can, I wasn't sure what you meant by take it and go kind of thing.
Well, I mean, if somebody has like, so this strikes me as it's almost the equivalent of an HSA in the private sector. And that's somebody's money. Like every year, money gets donated, they leave, if they never spend it from the time they're 40 to 65, they could have a considerable amount of money.
Yep.
At the moment they leave, that's their money.
Right, exactly.
What we're talking about here, if I'm understanding it correctly, is funding an account that the town would maintain to pay future benefits. And
Yep.
the employee, when they leave, would not have the opportunity to take their 75 or 35 or $50,000, whatever it is in the account, and say, well, that's my money now. No, it's a
Well-
benefit that is available to you over time to pay for healthcare in retirement. Yes?
The second part is yes, the first part is no, because the HSA that they currently have
Would be the plan that they're
would
on.
be a plan that they continue, and therefore the money they've put into that and the town.
Well, the HSA, so they have an HSA already? Then
They
where
have,
is this?
they have an HSA, all new employees, all employees actually are on the HSA, like I said, there's a couple of exceptions. Almost every employee is on the HSA. right now. So the town is contributing to that, and
And
yes,
that is theirs.
that is theirs. And
Fine,
so
that's fine. That's
if
under
20, they
the
retire
federal
for
scheme.
20 years and they've got 30, 40, $50,000 in there through investments and what the town's put in, what they put in not used, that is theirs to take regardless, that
Well,
is separate,
town-
regardless of whether we do anything here.
But that's,
Town's contribution and their contribution, they can, it's theirs at that.
but in a
point.
sense, that's a defined contribution
Yeah,
Right.
health benefit plan,
right,
right? We all know what that is. We've already factored those expenses in. This
Correct.
is in addition to that.
correct.
And I just don't want that line to get blurred
Well,
down the line.
it's not just that. Remember, we, at this moment in time, we are also funding this Viva program,
Yeah,
right? So there's expense there too. I don't know, this would be part of whatever negotiations, if it comes to that, decision comes out of it, whether the Viva continues, whether it changes course, or whether it is actually just, dropped. But that was, as Charles said before, that was a large ask from the firefighters at the last negotiations. We've implemented it, the town's funding it. So I mean, I think that all the firefighters are receiving, some money into their account for that. Yes, it's not the same as what the cost would be to them or the town for a full healthcare plan in retirement.
well, hence the need for a task force to
Yep,
get
I think
underneath this
so.
and explain to us what that's going on.
Exactly.
Thank you.
And just to be clear also, the reason, one of the reasons, I won't say it's the only reason, one of the reasons police and fire both are even different when you look at OPEB costs, potential OPEB costs, is because unlike the other employees who typically, not always, typically retire at age 65 or beyond, right? And then go on to Medicare or some other, post-retirement through the federal government. Our police and fire are traditionally retiring, not all, but most, before that time. And so we have to look at whether this is a retirement plan that we're gonna put together or propose for life. A retirement plan only goes to age 65, or you have to be a certain age to get it, so it only is available for so many years. We have to look at that. There's all things we have to look at to determine, because of the fact that these are individuals that are typically not retiring and going into Medicare and Social Security. They're typically retiring well before that, and it's that gap that seems to be the biggest concern, maybe not the only concern, but certainly the biggest concern for those individuals.
Just as a refresher, Mitch, firefighters, 25 years,
I actually have the contract with me, but it's 25 years, we have to be age 55 as well,
right,
or 10 years and age 65. I believe.
and that's for retirement, so
Yeah.
mirroring those kind of numbers probably makes some sense too, right?
Right.
Exploring what the impacts are there versus, as soon as they're, as soon as they're eligible.
Yeah, there's a lot to look at. I mean, obviously, you've asked to put together a task force, and that's a good reason why, because there's a lot of variables, whether we look at other towns or not, there's still a lot of variables that go into any kind of retirement plan. Not just structuring the plan itself, but also the cost involved and then the ongoing actuarial costs to the town for many years to come. Similar to pension, where we'd have to get an actuarial study done. Once the committee comes up with a couple of ideas, we'd have to weigh those out, and it would be, I would think, Matt, there's gonna have to be some money allotted to this committee to allow for the cost of doing actuarial, OPEB
Right.
costs before anything is implemented.
No,
It gets quite complicated. I remember the calculations in the last negotiation. It's quite-
Yeah, it is not an easy task, and it's a big ask, but it's also a
Do
concern.
we need a motion to nominate Sandy, or?
yeah, let's do it. Let's make it formal, so she can't say it was never done. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff, you're voting for yourself.
I'm voting for myself, okay?
There you go. Those in the room?
Aye.
That motion carries. Sandy, thank you very much for your willingness to
You're
represent
welcome.
the board in that initiative.
You've been elected.
I'm sure Mitch is gonna be thrilled to have me on the committee.
I'm thrilled to have you, Sandy. Always.
All right, item 10, discuss and take possible action on an offer from Water Street Landscaping to maintain the middle island at the intersection That's in the parking lot behind, the shops on Whitfield. There's that center island that the town actually owns.
Oh, okay.
Right, and we've sort of let that fall into disrepair. So this is an offer from Water Street Landscaping, in exchange for allowing them to put a little sign that says maintained by, Water Street Landscaping. They will maintain that island and keep it in a fashion that it is unaccustomed to, today.
It's incredibly helpful to have that, because that is a challenging intersection.
That is,
And have the sort of the way station.
Yeah.
At least increase the safety.
yes, it does, So, now, in fairness, I have been approached, by, a woman who works, for the marketplace, does the catering, Andrea. I can never remember her last name. She had, asked if it was possible that she could take over the maintenance of that, but I think she was interested in growing vegetables and those kind of things in there. So, I'm not sure that is appropriate, but, if we are okay with doing that, I would need to talk to her before we, told Water Street Landscaping to go ahead and do it.
Could we possibly just have any oversight at all about how they plan to do it? I mean,
Yeah.
general, just.
Yeah, just give us a planting plan and,
Yeah,
yeah.
just a heads up of what it's gonna be,
No
just so that
signage,
they
it's
don't
going to
start
create obstructions.
planting oak trees.
Right, yeah, and Lou just made a good point, no signage that would create obstruction, the sign would have to be small and tasteful. Low and tasteful, right?
Well, you never know what's gonna pop up, so this gives us a one less
So,
shot.
so how about if I ask them, if they would give us a preliminary proposal or design of what it would look like?
And that's a consortium, this Water Street, or is it one?
No, Water Street,
vendor?
it's one vendor, it's Water Street Landscaping, it's a
Oh, I see.
landscaping company.
Okay.
But, I think it may be affiliated with, the Water Street shops. but-
One of the owners.
One of the owners.
Sandy had her hand up.
Sandy,
Yeah, I think this is a great idea as a frequent driver back there, because there's many restaurants there. Every time I drive back there, I'm thrilled that the parking lot is improved. I mean, it's been probably close to 10 years now, but it's a wonderful improvement. But I do look at that island and I do think, oh gosh, if only this could look a little better. And sometimes some of the grasses and stuff are high. I mean, it's not even safe right now. I mean, I don't mean it's a
Right.
terribly unsafe thing, but it could be much better, And the Water Street, I mean, they're like a neighbor in a sense, well, so is Andrea, I guess, but I think it's nice that I think they would probably be mindful of doing a good job since their name is going to be attached to it. I don't think that Andrea would necessarily do a bad job, but I kind of, the vegetable concept, I don't think it would be as pretty, I mean, it wouldn't, I don't know, maybe there's another place she could do it, but I would vote for a more generic look at that circle.
yeah, she's actually got I don't know if you've been back to that, the northwest corner of the property where, the catering site is, she's got
Yes.
planter gardens. She's got planter gardens out there already.
And that's a
Yeah.
plus, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
In that location.
Yeah,
So,
Whatever happened to the additional parking we were going to sort of get along with the church?
but we have
we
it.
did
Oh,
it.
it's there?
Yeah, and we
It's
renewed that with the Catholic Church. There are 60 spots back there.
Oh, so we're able to use their parking lot, basically. Is the walkway completed?
Yes.
Walkway was
And there's a
the
light
sidewalk.
there. There's a
Oh,
light
right,
there
right.
too.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's time for you to walk back there.
No kidding.
All right. So what I'll do is I'll go back and ask for a proposal, but I think we've got blessing that this is a good idea.
I think it's a great idea. Managed.
All right, item 11, appointments and resignations. Act on a recommendation to appoint Stacy Marr to the Human Rights Commission to fill a vacancy for a term to expire June 30th, 2027. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
A second.
I'll second.
Let me try your minds, or comments or questions? Let me try your minds, Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye.
Those in the room?
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries unanimously. Okay, request for use of town property. 12.1 act on request from the Guilford Rotary to use the green to place a sign on the green advertising its Frosty 5K taking place January 1, 2024.
I would like to make that motion as well.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second,
Any comments or questions? Other than the fact that you have less than 2 months to get in shape to run it.
Oh, boy.
Let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff.
aye.
Those in the room?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. 12.2 act on a request from Christ Church to place a sign on the green advertising their chili to go supper taking place on December 1st, 2023. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second, wait a second, it's December 1st.
that's the tree lighting, Friday, the December 1st.
Okay,
So they just want a sign. Oh, no, wait a second. Their event is taking place on December 1st.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sign placement,
17th.
starting 17th, yeah.
Yeah, sign placement, 11/17 to 12/1.
Maybe they mean to have it the same night as the tree lighting? How would that work?
They've been doing that for years. They've been doing it for years.
Oh, okay, so it's a amenity.
Yep.
Yeah.
Adjacent.
Yeah.
Tree
Yeah.
lighting.
All right, is there a motion in a second? Yeah, it was, okay, let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff.
Aye.
Those in the room?
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries unanimously. 12.3 act on a request from the Dudley Farm to place a sign on the green advertising its holiday open house and craft markets taking place the first 3 weekends in December. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
A second?
Second,
Second, any comments or questions? I do have one. If anyone hasn't had an opportunity to stop at the Dudley Farm for their new museum that they built on indigenous people in this area, it's really, really well done. I was up there a couple of weekends ago on a Saturday morning, and they did an absolutely terrific job on it.
Sounds like a grandkid road trip.
Perfect. It's not huge, but it tells the story of this area and indigenous tribes. All right, so let me try your minds. Selectwoman Ruoff,
aye.
those in the room?
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Committee reports, Sandy?
We had a good meeting of the Affordable Housing Committee about the third week in October. Representatives from NeighborWorks and Karen Patrick Quinn from Patrick Quinn Architectural Associates was there, and the problem that we were facing about complying with DEEP's 500-year floodplain rule is being addressed, and it doesn't seem quite as dire as it seemed in terms of cost or change to the buildings. There will be a slight change in the proposed design of the buildings, but they're still going to be designed to fit in the within the neighborhood and the look. And they don't think the amount of fill that we will need is quite as much as we thought. So I don't want to quote a price right now, but we have another meeting this month, the week, Thanksgiving week, just prior to Thanksgiving. And we hope to have a new site plan will be presented by work through the architects and the engineer that they use. So we're feeling more hopeful than we were feeling about 2 months ago about this project going forward. I mean, we weren't giving up on it, but we seem to be a little closer now to just getting past this one hurdle and going forward. We still have to get more approvals from various town agencies, but once we get through DEEP, the rest of it, I hope, should be a little easier. And then we're planning some public education meetings again, because we did do a number of those, but it's been quite a while. And so in the new year, there'll be some open meetings, probably either held at the library or the community center, depending, not that any vote is going to be taken, but just for the members of the public to come and comment or question, or hopefully positively. So that's all I have to say.
Great. Thank you, Sandy. Anybody have anything under correspondence? or old business? I've got a couple of things on new business. This Saturday, Veterans Day, Saturday the 11th, Veterans Day ceremony will be taking place on the green at 10:30. I unfortunately have a family commitment that is going to preclude me from participating. Is there anyone who would like to stand in my stead and make a couple of remarks?
Yeah, let me just make sure I'm not committing to something, but it appears that I am around and I would love to do that. There's a wonderful event.
Thank you.
Happens to be somebody's birthday that we know.
Yes, it does. It would
We'll spare them,
if they
we'll spare them the public.
if that individual shows up, you can do a shout out. That's great. Also, on the tree lighting, Cheryl and I are traveling to a wedding. It's gonna take us out of town. So, you got some time on that. If anybody wants to take over, that role, that I serve there, it's really just welcoming the community. And then, I always bring I find a youngster in the crowd, I bring them up so they can flip the switch. But, if anybody, wants to do that, please, you got some time on that one.
Yeah, I listen, I don't want to step on toes here, so if somebody
That's
wants to
the
do it.
first.
Yeah, that's that Friday night, the first. So, and you're all.
All my
everybody's
energy is
Already
gonna be,
retired,
all my energy is gonna be,
Maybe we'll get a couple, who's ever around, honestly, we
Yeah.
should all be there.
Yeah, you're.
If we can,
Yeah.
subject
Yeah.
to
And
schedules.
I think last year, I think we did have multiple folks up on the stage, so, thank you. I know I'll be.
We'll get you covered.
You got me covered on that. That's great. And then just lastly, the Guilford Interfaith Volunteers, Meals on Wheels is doing their annual Patriot Dinner on Friday night. I'm gonna be there to say a few words, but also to help serve the dinner. So I think anybody who wants to come and help serve is welcome to do so.
Great.
All right. Anybody else with anything under new business? Okay, well, hearing none, public forum, anyone wishing to address the board in public forum? Going once, going twice, sold. Nothing forward on the agenda, nothing more on the agenda, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second, let me try your minds, Selectman Ruoff,
I,
yes. Those in the room?
Aye.
That motion is unanimous. Thank you,
thank you. Bye-bye.
bye.
Rough.